When I was at Potchefstroom, I was born in Potchefstroom. There's a saying that once you've drunk the river, the water of the Mooi River, you can't leave. Now, Daniel came there to study on a 10-month exchange scheme, and I presume he drank some water from the Mooi River, and he decided to stay permanently in South Africa. So he's going to talk to us about some other examples in the rest of Africa. Daniel, thank you.
Cool, thank you very much. Yeah, so that was actually quite a while ago. I think almost over 10 years now that I mean, always people ask me, how do you end up in Potch, you know? So how did I ended up there? So I was in Germany studying renewable energies, electrical engineering, looked around for some subjects, met a professor in Germany from Potch, and then I said, hey, I want to build a solar power plant on the new university complex. So, and then we said, okay, let's do it. And a few months later, I was in Potch. And that was, let's say, my African roadmap, which got me started. I was there 10 months. Unfortunately, didn't build a solar plant. They would be laughing at the electricity costs now if it would be there. But so I came back a few years later, in the renewables sector. So just, I mean, there was a lot discussed about different technologies today, about different, what's better, you know, is it this or that or here. I also saw, you know, there was quite amazing projects where people look in, hey, what's actually needed. We always talk about energy on the one side, but no one talks about, hey, who speaks actually to the guy who needs the energy, or actually also who, you know, can they do things different to use the energy in a different way, to match maybe different generation profiles in a better way. So I didn't know really what to put on at my first slide, so I found a fancy picture, so I put it on there. So obviously I ended up in South Africa, but then out of a sudden from South Africa got deployed all over Africa, did a lot in Namibia, Mozambique, was doing some microgrid studies there, was involved in a lot of hybrid system studies for big mines, you know, all over the place. In Mali, I think it's now implemented. In Namibia, one is implemented. It was always, you know, financial no-brainer, but no one really got going. So over the years, now it's like 10 years later, it's slowly breaking. Slowly the people see, okay, it's working end. But, you know, it already worked kind of 10 years ago and made financially sense. Now we really see it taking off. I just put a few projects on. I mean, 2010, I put a little off-grid system also in Brazzaville, and that was super expensive. I mean, technology like small 7 kilowatt peak. The system costs a fortune, and the import into the country costs the same as the system. So, you know, it didn't really make sense. Then I built systems in Fuerteventura, also like standard technology has been around, you know, for 30 years and longer. I mean, it has been going, but all very small stuff. Then 2011, I went to Potchefstroom, did some studies on the new engineering campus, put a backup system in, put rooftop solar on. I mean, if you want to do a study in Africa, you don't want to do a study in Germany anymore because, you know, it looks so bad. It's like 900 kilowatt hours per kilowatt peak. Here you get 2,000, so you get the double of energy. So you just need to kind of harvest it. Then the first like super interesting project I then jumped onto was a hybrid system, one of the world first, I think, on a mine in Tabasimbi. And their heavy machinery, I mean, they had a problem. Hey, we only have 500 kVA from Eskom available. What do? You know, we don't have more So then they said, okay, diesel generators one side, so they decided also to put solar in. So I want to highlight it a little bit from a technology perspective. So when stuff has been put in there, no one really wanted to come forward to put it in from a technology point of view, you know. So it was, I would say, early days, and that's what I want to highlight. That was 2013. What happened now in the last, 7-8 years, it was an extreme advancement of hybrid technologies. How kind of you control the systems, how solar controlled with battery, how that, you have ready to deploy plug-and-play controllers almost to do all of that thing. So in 2013, that was, slowly starting. Everyone said, yeah, we can do, but then, if you go to the ABB and here and there, they all, were making something. Everyone was talking a little, but it was still tough. So nowadays, now you see them deployed all over. Big mines have all the systems integrated, and kind of is ready to go. And that's, I think, now it's also where, communities, municipalities, whoever kind of wants to, benefit from hybrid system can now quickly implement. There's good South African companies, which can implement it and have implemented it on different lodges all over the place. And yeah, now it's basically ready to go. I also was on big plants, then in Egypt. They have over 1 gigawatt. Basically on a field, you walk like a kilometer in the one direction, a kilometer in the other direction, solar all over. Works in combination with a big hydro dam as well. So, so solar is really kind of taking off, all the renewable energies in Africa as well. So, with the hybrid systems, what hybrid system is basically just you have different power sources. And usually, it was never discussion. It was, okay, we have power, we don't need anything. But then, obviously there's load shedding, all sorts of things. Different power sources have different prices. So hybrid system became more a necessity, and not only for the big utilities, which anyway had them all the time, also for the low, smaller generators. That is, okay, let's invest in 1, 2, 3, put it all together. And the control technology, all of that thing is here, which can be implemented. Also, now what do you do as a business owner? What do you do as a municipality, as a community, in order to fight against high electricity prices, to go against load shedding? We heard today you have to build 8,000 kilometers of power lines. You have to build, I don't know how many thousand megawatt of power plants. That all takes time. So I think it's important to look into that smaller scale communities. What's possible, what do they need, and what can they get in terms of generating their own power. Technology is there. I don't see any issue out that it's not possible. Also when I connected my first solar power plant in Africa, they wanted me to put a synchronization relay in to synchronize the grid power with the inverter. So that was quite an interesting discussion. So until they found out that's not necessary. A little bit off the topic here. Let me go to my next slide. So here you see just some 2 projects. I always like in the different projects nowadays, you can just zoom in with Google. Wherever in the world you want to see a solar system, you quickly zoom in and see if it's still there. So basically you see the one that's now in South Africa. In a mining operation, you have 500 kVA ESCOM, you have 2.5 MVA or kVA, 2.5 MVA diesel generators, and a megawatt peak solar plant. Works nicely all together. If basically the solar goes off, then the guys need to very quickly get more more fuel trucks coming, because it runs out quickly then. Then also I've been involved in the lodge space, and I mean, you've seen in the news also all over South Africa, lodges have been now going off the diesel or going off grid, or they don't have anything. So because there's big utility scale containers available, I'm here, which I was involved, you know, I mean 300 kilowatt hours you get in a 10-foot container. Quickly, all with a controller system, you plug it there, you put the solar on, and it's operating. You integrate the diesel generators, and that's then a solution fit for purpose, which, you know, is a little more complicated than the diesel generator only, but also, you know, works on a long time, and you only have to transport it there once, and the diesel you have to transport there, you know, every week. Solar only goes there once, and the sun comes every day for free. So that's the nice thing as well, and it doesn't matter where basically in the world. And then, you know, you can cut that fully off your budget, the diesel costs, and put it somewhere else, you know, where it helps the business. So here I put some, just wanted to highlight, I don't know if you can see it properly there on the top right, just how in the last 10 years, you know, since I came here, the addition of solar worldwide, and also in Africa. I mean, worldwide it's almost now last year 200 gigawatt, basically 200 gigawatt, which was built. Also in Africa had a little dip the year before, but the technology is deployed everywhere. I mean, why is it so easy? Because the sun comes every day. You have very stable output, which you know that's it's predictable. What energy comes over the year, it's pretty much, you know, also predictable over the days. So in Germany, it also has a base load component. Why we already discussing base, and you know, so the energy kind of market then also changes once you have a lot of it installed. Then on the right bottom side, now just don't want to get it confused. I just wanted to show as well is the addition of battery systems. So it's like the dark blue is basically your behind the meter batteries, which have been installed, and then your utility scale batteries. You know, it goes already into the gigawatts of battery storage. So we see in the last 10 years that thing just going up. And I mean, with more deployment, there's more experience, technology readiness goes up, all of the things. As well, on the left side, you see how the prices go down on battery storage, because always, still now, if I speak with people that say solar is expensive and battery is expensive, it's relative, I would say. I mean, the systems are fit for purpose nowadays, they're quickly installed, and the prices, they're also good. And if overall utility scale, if you compare the solar prices, they are market competitive with other power generation units. And then I've heard also the comment, okay, but there's base load needed, and in the end they only work with other technologies together. That's clear, but they're definitely contributing with a lower levelized cost of electricity to the complete system. And I think if you decentralize it, if you fit it for purpose into relevant communities, then you can even sharpen your pencils a bit more, because you produce the power for the communities who needs it, and you can also structure everything around that. And the bigger picture, the power lines, Eskom and an end, is still there as a little backup, but you know, not really required. Yeah, so here I just in terms of hybrid systems, I mean, every kind of household can become a hybrid system. If we now look at, you know, residential home, business, flat, that's what mostly happening now in South Africa. So, you know, if a business owner, you know, wants his people to work 8 hours a day, but they can't for 2 hours because the power is off, you know, it's obviously a problem. So then it maybe makes sense and pays quickly off to put backup and solar on. That can be diesel generator, backup battery, PV system, and that always depends then as well, okay, what do you need it for, fit for purpose. So you can invest, a lot of money and, it will last, forever, or you say, hey, it needs to fit for purpose. But that's obviously only on one business. The business owner next door maybe has the same problem. So it can become much more cost efficient as well if you look at it more on a community basis. So you look into a business park, what can we do for the whole business park? What can we do for a whole residential estate? What can we do for a block of flats, for municipality, for retirement estate? All of that sort of thing. So see, okay, what's the energy demand? I mean, they have multiple grid supplies maybe, so cut it off when there's load shedding, make it a sustainable kind of integrated system, operate it, and when the power is back on, utilize kind of what you have there to feed back to the grid and then participate to others. So there's a lot of possibilities. I mean, all over the world, the more renewables you get in there, the smarter the systems get, because what do you do with the power? Hey, I don't need it now, but I shoot it over to you. So even in the residential sector, you can already trade between households. So there's very, very exciting solutions coming our way. Obviously, they're only coming, the first is always the problem, then there's the solution. So we need to be thankful for the problems as well. So, I mean, there's another little solution I'm working on where, I mean, they first had a water shop and I put a little battery system in there. Now, obviously, water is also a big problem. I mean, that was now in Durban and up and down. So problem, people can't get, proper water, so they're running to the water shop and, buying their water. So then we said, okay, how can that be deployed, somewhere else? So the guys made a little water dispensing container. So you plunk it, you put the water in, you put the solar on top, fully run sustainable. You go with your credit card or with your coins, can be set up how you want, and you draw your 20 liter, 10 liters. Of water, fully RO systems, basically also you get rid of all the plastic bottles which mostly unnecessary thrown out, so you just have a 20 liter and such a container, fully sustainable with the power as well, you can place at the right places where people can quickly, conveniently refill their 20 liters, So that's also a case, you can put it in a community, in a municipality where, they're always trucking water in an end and have a little more convenience on that side as well, as the quality is not getting better anytime soon at the moment. Yeah, I mean, overall, with, let's say, system implementations, the biggest problem always is that people maybe don't really take their time when you implement a system. If you ask someone for an energy bill, it takes them forever to get the energy bill right. People always want the cheapest solution, but because you're connecting to a power system, you're connecting, you need the power for your business, for example, it always makes sense to take a little effort, have some metering or look more clearer at your bills, put everything together, have a proper design structure, do a little feasibility, do a nice system design, go to few reputable companies, get some quotes. There's different finance packages around. Take your time, implement it in a right manner, because you always need to think, okay, that few extra money which you maybe put in, maybe takes you a month longer in payoff, but in the end, the thing works for 30 years, not only for 5 years. Especially on the renewable side, that's super important. I mean, if you look at atomic power plants, I mean, that's amazing engineering. If you go into an atomic kind of field, the spanners, everything is there, everything is clean. because it needs to produce, power, it needs to be safe. The same is with solar. Solar, everyone kind of sees it a little bit less, but if you look after your system, if you build it right, then it will also generate properly and not only give you 50% after a few months. Okay. Yeah, so that's an overall thing. So here, I always say, it's about luxury. So obviously, if you have your house and you want to have everything, you invest a lot of money, you can have everything. About functionality and return on invest, I think all of the things go together, but they always mean you need to know who needs the power, what do you need the power for, or what else can you make with the power. I mean, I've did here the study here, you see the Poch campus, for example. We did simulation with, peak power, winter time, summertime, off-peak hours, peak hours. So the simulation tools are out there. So all the solar companies as well, they have them, they can use them. So, but you need to kind of get a little bit of the, the information in order to make the design right, in order to make a good return on invest. If you don't, hand out the right information, if you don't take some extra time and write down what you need, how your operation goes, the system becomes more expensive and doesn't fit for your purpose. So that's very important. And then in the end, with the hybrid systems, order what you need, and then you, in the end, get what you ordered, and then you will be happy, and your power bill will also be in a good, manageable point for the next 10 years. So we have a natural hedge against whatever happens out there with ESCOM or at NERSA. So yeah, that's from that side. A little summary. Yeah, I mean, overall the renewable technologies, state-of-the-art technology. So it's definitely now to implement them, to use them wherever you want to use them, they're ready. I mean, you see it with the figures getting more and more deployed everywhere. The prices, I mean, I still have people, first thing they say, so expensive, I don't want to hear it anymore. I mean, it's not true, I mean, it's there. So the price is really drastically lowered. I mean, now with the whole crisis going on, they went a little bit up again. But with energy prices, it's still fine. So there's the hybrid technology out there, for load shedding, and not only for small houses. As you can see, it can be implemented at mines. It can be implemented at businesses who also need more power. So it's ready. It's built to last. Yeah. And I've seen even old Siemens panels up in Pretoria on an architect's house, which are still working. They're over 30 years old. Siemens S55 module. If you get hold of one of that things, don't give it away. So, yeah, I think South Africa, with its current problems and the setup, is at a unique position, becoming kind of onto the forefront of distributed power. Because, I mean, you have these estates, you have these business parks, you have, communities which are really kind of remote. So, I mean, in Germany, it also goes into decentralized generation again, but here you can really, put the proof in the pudding and see, hey, here there's one town, we completely, manage it locally. Or here's one property development, we completely have it, self-sustainable. So I think there's not many countries where you can implement it and have, let's say, local people who then also say, hey, I put some extra money into there because I want to get rid of load shedding. So, I mean, financing is another picture, but there also, if you prepare the system nicely, if you make the numbers, if you do the right simulations, prepare the package, it's also easier to get a nice finance and out there from the bank, and then you still end up at some proper returns. Cool. So, yeah, that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm as surprised as you are that we're on time. But thank you for giving up your afternoon coffee. And sorry for the speakers who we had not had a chance to speak to, but I think most of them are still here. We are now, just after my few comments, we're moving out to the garden, out to the left there, for the very nice cheese, biscuits and wine. I often wonder why people only talk about cheese and wine, because there are always biscuits also, so there will be biscuits. This is being hosted and sponsored by the Spanish Embassy, Mr. Ribeiro there, as well as Liquid Intelligent Technologies. Now that has nothing to do with wine. They are very high tech, and we will hear more from both the councillor and one of the senior leaders of Liquid Intelligent Technologies. Colleagues, I'm not going to try to summarize, but I'd like to just end the day with a few comments, which I hope will bring us back to some perspective. We really wanted this to be an informative and networking opportunity, and I hope that worked. And obviously, there's still some time for that. And I got three main messages out of this. The themes, we looked at the big picture in terms of local community action is important at Eskom, the big picture of Eskom, as well as other possibilities around other countries. Secondly, we heard a lot about innovation and entrepreneurship. I was really pleasantly surprised. I think the Cape Town example is one. Agricultural solutions, the whole question of local authorities, so many of you are here, as well as the very interesting idea of agri-villages that we've heard about. And then obviously a large part of the day and the speakers spoke about the elements of future energy. And I don't think we'll vote on this, but I think there's an understanding and a consensus that it must be a hybrid solution. There's no way we can stay with coal, but there's no way we can immediately move away from coal, and there's no way we can only go for the renewable stuff. So renewable energy is part of the future. Nuclear energy, especially the smaller reactors, is part of the future. Coal is still, for the time being, part of our future, at least those of us who are under 80. And then gas, there are lots of possibilities about gas. We hear a lot about the Brolpara find along the southern coast. I also hear lots of stories about Total not wanting to work with the government because there are too many underhand issues happening. I don't know whether that's true. So those are the elements. But then a very important element that quite a number of speakers mentioned is the fact that we must take a long-term view on this. We cannot look at the next 6 months only before Christmas. And I think that's important. And also have the vision to say we are working like Hendrik van der Bijl, Jacob, for 40 and 50 years. And we don't need to go to the bank with that, Chris. We must just plan for that. So my perspective for the takeaway is that when I listen to all of you today, I feel there's hope, not only for the energy sector, but for the country. And if that hope can be accompanied by a commitment, obviously a commitment from our people, and cooperation. I think Jan Ambrose put it aptly, Inc. South Africa. We can't on our own solve this. The government can't on its own, Eskom can't on its own. But if it's South Africa incorporated, we can have energy, not just as a process, but as a product. So, to use someone's words here, let us hope that boere from all colors will make plans that will work. We hope you enjoy the rest of the evening.